thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I'm so happy that you're here. I think Michelle and I have been talking about this for a while.
A lot.
And seeing that we are kind of nearing that stage as well. We're getting married soon, and
Nice.
I am looking to having kids as well, for sure.
great.
And I know from my years of knowing you, you've shared so many incredible stories of how you have parented your children, developed such an amazing family. I think
Thank
you guys are such an inspiration to a lot of us. Just seeing even your posts on social media and stuff about how close you and your family members are, even with your teenagers,
Yes.
right? So I just really want to know, first question is, what is your parenting philosophy?
So we started Small Talk for rather selfish reasons. We're just two friends who are constantly curious about this beautiful, crazy thing called life and how people navigate through it as we do ours.
We wanted to ask questions and learn everything from how people find true love online to dealing with cancer, and thought, why not share our learnings with everyone who's interested to learn and grow along the way? So this is us, creating conversations beyond small talk.
Well, firstly, thank you for allowing me to be here. Parenting philosophy, and that goes back to my belief, and that is two things. One is the love for God, and then that translates to the love for people. So I bring that into that family because that's part of my belief system.
Yep.
And when I can do that, then I'm representing what that love means from the vertical to the horizontal.
Wow.
And so family is just obviously an extension of where I can express my love to vis-a-vis the society, right? But it has to start in the family. If it doesn't start at home, then we can be like just showing up and trying to be someone different out there, but you're not. So you've got to be true to who you are. And I think it begins at home.
And you've got 3 kids,
Yes.
right?
How old are they, three of them?
19, 17, and 13. So
Wow.
all are teenagers.
Teenagers.
Wow. Has that
And-
been a big shift?
Yeah.
When they
Foundational
were
years
kind of like teenagers to like
versus
getting into
teenagers.
adulthood.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of them actually act like adults. That's good.
Even when they were younger, from what I hear, right?
Really? Yeah, especially my eldest one.
Yeah.
But obviously, with those 3, and all of them have different personalities, different pluses, and of course areas of development. Right?
Yeah.
So they're all going through a process, just like us.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, we're experiencing life, experiencing people around us, and how we respond to people, and that's part of everyday living.
So you have 3 personalities you're dealing
yeah.
with, right? So do you sort of do a cookie cutter to each of them, or do you sort of like
Well-
situational
well,
leadership, situational
Yeah, that's
parenting.
a good one. That's a good one. Initially, I thought it would be easy to just kind of mirror what we did with our first one, right? Because that would be like the ideal one.
Right.
Because we did not know what to do. There were a lot of parenting books, but a
Yeah,
lot of
for
things
sure.
were not in context to what we believe sometimes.
Oh, okay, interesting.
In our culture on top of that. So there's a few layers, isn't it?
That's
right?
true.
And then we kind of figure out we have to find what works for us, because it's not just that one size fits all kind of thing.
And it's sort of like experimental along the way
Exactly.
as
So
well.
the first one came, we did some things, and we did some things wrong, obviously. Didn't work, and we thought it would, and then obviously experimenting on the second one, and then the third one came a bit of like, it's natural already, because
Okay.
we're like,
So many
after 2,
Pro.
we'll be good, and then we learn new things as well on top of
Wow,
that.
yeah.
So it's layer upon layer of things.
So Melvin, being a life coach, do you sort of implement some of your coaching tools in the way you parent your kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that I try, and then there are 2 parts of it. One is that the children get to know the tools that you're using on them very quickly,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And then they're like, especially the older ones, they're like, they're
Are you
like,
coaching me?
yeah, they don't really dare to say that, but yes, in a way.
I mean,
in
it's
a
like
way.
a different hat, right? Like a coach, father.
Yeah, and so the answer is yes, I try, but yes, I need to also make sure that I'm doing it out of the right intention, the right heart,
Right.
the right place. Not just saying because I want to, use that on you and you'll be better off with that way.
Right.
And when that's done, it's just similar as how we were brought up, perhaps, if our parents thought that the cane or a certain way of discipline would work, then they would use it all across. And so it does not, because some people may need the cane more like me, and some did not, right? I remember, right? And some did not. And so we needed to have that balance on what works. So it's not just this whole, like, what to do next kind of thing, because there's no formula. There's no right thing to do at that right time. It's just understanding who you're with at a point of time. And actually, when I think about it, I'm asking myself constantly, what can I do to serve my children?
Wow. That's a good one.
Because they are also needing something from this relationship.
Yeah,
It's not
it's a
one
two-way
way.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
for sure.
every one of them is so different.
Exactly.
They need a different thing.
Exactly. And at different ages, right?
Different stages.
And when they brave enough to ask about it, and that's when more of the breakthrough happens, because then it's not
ask about what?
when it's one way is we can ask about things, how's your day, and what struggles you're going through, versus them now saying that I would like to have a talk with you on something, and they bring it up. So obviously there needs to be an openness and a chance to have that space.
So I'm gonna ask you, like, you were talking about how your kids are able to ask you about,
That's
am I able to talk?
self-awareness.
Yeah, but to get to that for a teenager, to be able to talk to your dad about that, it comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can sort of revisit how
That's
that's
a
sort
good
of
question.
established. Yeah.
Wow.
How do you encourage that self-awareness in them?
It started out, I guess, in the culture of our family. So there is no perhaps right or wrong in a sense. So we allow our children to explore. So that's one of the important things I think all parents should do, or all, even you're working with your workforce, right?
Yeah.
You gotta let them be accountable and explore the things that they want to be exploring. So that's the first thing. So that's openness in one sense.
Openness.
So when they bring that onto the place of play, that's when we can renegotiate the situations, and it happens in a very safe environment. You've got to create a safe environment versus something that they say off tangent, and then you're like,
Yeah,
You penalize
got it.
them.
That was
there you
probably
go.
how we were sort of
Yeah.
raised. So you're saying you're creating this space for them to just be openly expressing whatever their thoughts are.
Yeah, better, it's easier said than done, obviously, right? But I remember, obviously, in the back of my mind always is like, what would my dad do? And what would I do differently today? So I constantly ask myself that question. What can I do differently with my children today? Then, of course, when we are now living, obviously, overseas, they are going to be exposed to different cultures. So now it's about, okay, what could we adopt and adapt into our culture?
Yeah.
So now perhaps one of my children will bring in something to test in our culture. And that's what happens. So they're going to come in and say whether this can be done. So can I go out late without having to tell you what time I'm coming back? So they don't test the boundaries.
Right.
And you're going to say, okay, in that culture when I before, and maybe not, but in this culture, we're living in Australia, okay. And then again, then we negotiate. It's like, yes, but let us know where you are. Or let us at least
Right.
know what time you're coming back.
So it's not a straight no.
Exactly.
But
You're
yes,
putting some
let us
responsibility in them as well.
renegotiate.
Yeah,
I
that
really
definitely,
like that.
definitely.
Wow, I like that, yeah. Negotiating with you.
Because when they're able to do that, then they know it's not a one-way street. And they know that you can come to you even when they're not doing it right. And I think that's the
important.
hardest part of
Because
it.
usually, personally, we would have avoided that topic altogether with our
Of course,
parents.
yeah.
And
Because
just
we
do
know-
it without their
Yeah,
knowing,
so
right?
that's in a sense rebelling, right? But
Yeah.
to be able to just bring it on the table and discuss openly, I think that's super refreshing.
So now on a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
how open do you think your kids are to you? On your personal opinion.
Okay. I would say on a good day, no, it's kidding.
I wonder what
I
you
think
would say.
overall, exactly. our perspective may not be the same, but if my perspective, I would dare say an 8.
Wow, that's
super
a
confident.
really high level.
Yeah, because I think it's the years that we've built it. It takes years to build a relationship.
The foundation.
And yeah, I think I can have open conversations with any one of them. And I think that has not been easy through the years.
Yeah.
But because we did not give up on doing it and doing it and doing it.
So when you say doing it, you're sort of building the blocks, right? And you say that it's not
Yeah.
easy building the blocks. Can you maybe sort of elaborate on maybe give an example?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, when you come with, let's say, a challenge that the family is facing, okay, even financially, for example, what we do is we often share both sides of the coin with our children.
Okay.
We will share with them the reality of things. We do not want to shield them so that saying, oh, your children, you don't need to hear
Yes.
Oh,
And a lot
wow.
of parents do that.
this. We
yeah.
bring them into the discussion because it's a family discussion.
So even when they
Nice.
were really young,
Yeah.
you would
Wow.
include them
Yes.
in every discussion.
Yes.
Wow.
Most, at least. And we want to show them that it's okay to have a bit of a disagreement with each other, because when you allow that, then it's not fake. It's
That's
real.
so good.
It's life, isn't
Yeah.
it? And
Reality,
life,
right?
yeah, it's life not just about the good stuff.
Yeah.
And so, for example, finance. So let's say they're now living in Australia, and I'll tell them frankly, it takes a lot of work for that to be earning this much money to bring it back to Australia. And so, how do you feel about that?
Wow.
And what is your decision? Do you want to stay in Australia? Do you want to come back?
Wow, so you're
Wow, it's a
giving them
collective
that
Giving them,
decision.
yeah, giving them an
Wow,
opportunity
that's
so that they'll
amazing.
understand, okay, all right, that means I won't see that too much as well. So they begin to understand that I need to travel. They begin to let me go even when I'm traveling.
Wow.
And
because
they're
now they
saying-
know why you're
Exactly,
doing it.
exactly. And we are one unit together. So when I'm away, everyone's also knowing the roles that you have to play. Like the
Wow.
call will be taken care of, you know.
That's so good.
Then I ask them, so do you know how many children you want to have? And they kind of know because they know the financial
cost
aspect
aspect,
of
yeah.
it. They're like, oh,
One
I
child's
think
gonna cost
maybe this
Yeah.
and that. So they begin to understand life in its wholeness versus
Yeah.
just saying, okay, now you're in primary, so this is
Yes, the
that
box.
cookie cutter. I got to let you know on all this information. No, you got to expose them to the world, and I
That's so
believe
good.
not just the good, as I said again, it's the good and the bad, so that they can be able to make the right decisions
Very good.
when
very
they grow
good.
up as well.
Wow.
And how did you know when was the right time to expose them to all these things?
My eldest would be a good example because she would be exposed to everything. I mean, she saw us go through the move there and back and there again. And so she, on one side, needed to be that big sister,
Yeah.
and yet on the other side, she realized that she needs to play her role really well. So that on both sides, as you say, the responsibility came in. All of that she needed to grow up into was not shielded from her. So in a sense, all of my children, I believe, have grown up earlier than a lot of other children.
For sure.
Because they've been exposed to a lot of things, and not to say they don't enjoy the childhood stuff and being a
so
child.
I was just
you
curious
know?
about that, right? Because as a kid, you just play, right? You don't really think about the things
Yeah.
that adults need to think about. So how do you then instill that, but still make sure that they are responsible kids?
So obviously I have two sides, right? So I have the PS4 dad. I play everything with them, right? I go out cycling with my eldest son. So I play soccer. I do different things that they like to do, and yet they're involved in certain things like my book editing.
Oh.
Didn't even tell you that.
No.
So my eldest daughter is involved in the second
Editor
book
too?
Oh,
of
wow.
what I'm doing right now.
That's
So
amazing.
obviously to earn a bit of income
Pocket
as
money.
well, pocket
Oh,
money.
so good.
So in a way, we're not shielding them to those things, and we're exposing them early so that they're like, oh, this is what I can do, and test their strengths, test
Wow,
everything that
so
they're learning from school.
I think what's so beautiful about this whole thing is how everyone is involved in each other's lives.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that we are the parents and this is the boundaries.
You talk about this, we talk about that.
Yeah, and the other things you don't need to know.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we are all a family unit. We are one unit, and so it's so important that we all know what is happening in each other's lives.
Yeah.
That's true. And like finances is not something that we talk openly with your kids or with your parents until at a certain stage.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
right.
good that you bring that. So I'm very curious, how do you sort of work together with your wife to instill kind of the habits or the culture that you want in your family? Because I understand that she's quite the opposite of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you sort of like balance that?
Very, very painfully. No,
Share.
no, don't. Actually, it's meeting at common grounds, right? It's finding places where we can land. I mean, it's not easy to land on a certain platform, right?
Yeah.
So I've got my whole years of conditioning this way, very
sure.
structured, and
We see
who
that.
Mel is. And then she's got that whole free-spirited
Wow.
kind of thing. And then when we all come together, obviously we need to have that balance.
Yeah.
Example, she never had a curfew in her life. I had a curfew, so I needed to take her home at a certain time for me.
Oh my god.
It's so funny,
She
right?
must be like,
so
curfew.
early.
And so now
That's funny.
with our daughter going out on dates and stuff like that, so we're like, we've got to have the curfew, right? Because it's from my side, and she knows how important that is as well.
Nice.
Right? So there's always that meeting point, and we don't often have to agree on everything.
That's true.
And that's important. And it's through testing on what will work as well sometimes. Sometimes I may be at fault. I may be the one trying to push a certain things that I've been experienced to, but it may not work.
That's true.
right?
Wow.
And so I need to be then open on what her style is, and so
I love how you
therefore
start rolling your eyes.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like,
Sorry to say that.
bring it in, and when we test it, and it works. Obviously, we're like, okay,
Right.
we've got to adopt this one.
But obviously, with on that, the way you do that, you have to be open to realize that your way may not work,
may not
right?
work,
Which is
That's
it's a
compromise.
big on you, yeah.
It is vice versa as well, right? So when I feel that certain things, but the key thing is we both share the same values. which
So
is-
that brings you guys back together.
exactly. The love, the expression of love and everything. And so if anything actually is on like a 50-50,
Right.
we ask the bigger, higher
Go back to
question
that,
and say,
right.
does this serve our bigger purpose? Does
And
this
that's where your
serve-
coaching experience comes in. What is the bigger purpose of this, and what is the bigger purpose
Yeah,
of this?
and the intention of what we're doing,
Yeah.
what we're doing, isn't it?
So do you sort of have like a structure on how you guys negotiate on this, or is it very
No,
like
it's depends on my mood on the day in this case. No, I learned this, and I want to share this here. There's this I learned even before I got married, and from this wonderful couple. They said, what you need to do is every night clear the plate. That means you may have something, you had in your heart, and I have something brewing here, but every night come together before you sleep, kind of saying, just kind of clear that. Now, we modified that because every night will be too much, right? So we're like, okay, maybe every week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then we come and discuss about certain things.
So there's that checkpoint.
Exactly. So put it down and both have equal say on what is it that you want to bring onto the table.
Yeah.
And discuss about it. It could be how we were bringing up our 2 boys, for example, and then we talk about it. So
Nice.
that's a great place
So
to
it's
be.
very conscious.
It
It's
is.
very intentional.
I think that's the key word.
And how has having kids served you in your purpose in life?
I say this often. My children is always the coach in my life.
Wow.
Wow.
Because they-
coming from a coach yourself.
Yeah, they teach me things that I thought I knew, but they're helping me kind of like unpeel the things that I thought I already knew,
Wow.
or even the things that I think I've improved already, like my anger management. Maybe not anger, but you know what I mean, my temperament. And so they keep me in check in many areas, and I would say that they are my best coaches. I remember a time when my youngest came to my room on a weekend, and he asked me one question that would change my life. He said, "Dad, are you working on Saturday?" And I went, "Hang on, question is that. It's like, am I working on a Saturday? What else must I be doing on a Saturday? So it just dawned onto me. I actually, at that point of time, it didn't. So I just kind of like, can't you see Dad's working?
Right.
And then I sat there, just flabbergasted. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the biggest aha moment in my life.
Right.
What am I doing? I'm working on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I was maybe supposed to be spending that time with him.
Right. So he was asking for love.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether he wanted my time, my attention, and that brought me back to the day when I wanted time for my father.
Wow.
And so that was like that changing point, one of the changing points for me when that happened. So children are your best teachers, are your best coaches, and if you allow them, obviously, once again, to be who they are.
Yeah. But that right there, while you were thinking, that was conscious parenting.
Yeah, it took a while for me to understand that, and it took a while, and it still impacts me till today. And I still ask the question in my head: Am I present? That's the question. Am I present in their presence?
Secret family yearly review that you do with your family.
Sounds very serious.
Yeah, I heard you guys do about like you guys forecast the year ahead and sort of look back at the year that passed. Maybe you can explain, some of the secret things that you guys do in this family.
Sure. Pleasure. It's in our initials, so MACCI, and then we put the year there. So we just did one, which is our names, 2019. And what we do is we set out asking ourselves, what did we do well the year before, right?
Is it always the same questions every
year?
year?
Yeah. What we do well the year before, what would we like to improve from the year, and what will be your goals for this new year? So that's one part, right? So everyone, even from our youngest, so it started so funnily when he was like, I don't know, 4 or 3 or whatever, and he's like, I gotta do this, I gotta stop this, and so on.
So cute.
And goals could be their own personal
Exactly.
goals. Okay.
So and when you look at them, you're like, oh my gosh, these are so different from what I want you to be doing. You get what I mean? It's like, and then I like both that and as well the other part where we say everyone's name's there, but what is one thing that you want Daddy to stop doing?
Oh my gosh, wow.
And the other one is to do more of.
Right.
Wow.
So you get to hear feedback time. Imagine 4 of them are going to give you that feedback. What you got to stop doing, Daddy, and what you got to do more.
So it's 4 and they'll give you feedback on the spot.
So
oh my
curious.
gosh, wow.
What have they shared over the years?
Many things.
Maybe what's one of the most memorable
yeah.
feedback that you've ever gotten from them?
It's the same thing. Is that spend some quality time with me.
Wow.
One-on-one. It's not about, because we do a lot of things
Family.
together, but it's about the one-on-one, and that's when we picked up to say, they're ready for one-on-ones.
Wow.
And that's what I do every time I go back, right? Have one-on-ones. But the other thing is that, Dad, could you smile more? I mean, it's like, I don't smile enough. It's like, and I had to
That's so
smile and
specific.
receive that feedback. It's like, really? I don't smile enough? And it's true. Because I've got this face, obviously, that is serious when I'm serious.
Yeah.
And then they're like, when someone's serious, you know what happens? They will move back. So I suddenly close the doors of their openness, isn't it?
Wow.
So now when I receive that, I'm like, okay, now you need to smile, you need to smile. So that opens the door. So when I'm smiling, I'm basically removing that barrier.
Yeah, wow.
So that they can come and say, Dad's not angry with me, look at his face, is okay. So I can ask him
But it's
something.
so amazing that they could go pinpoint down to just smile.
Exactly.
Right? That's
Being
Has
open,
it been
yeah.
easy to just, receive all this feedback? I mean, or
Ooh.
what do you tell yourself? What do you
Obviously
tell
not.
yourself to say okay, I'm gonna be open? Were there times that you would want to justify their feedback?
Exactly. I think
You're
every
only
one
human,
of us, when we're saying that, would be like, when did I do that? We want to say that.
right.
But we have a rule after a couple of years when we've done it. Now
so
we're
there's
like,
a rule,
just
okay.
listen
Just
and
listen.
accept it and
Right.
say thank you.
Wow.
So that's a new additional one. They're like
Right.
just saying thank you for the
But
feedback.
also at the beginning it was a lot of justification
Exactly.
and stuff.
And then I
right.
realized that
It's not working.
we needed to just say thank you because Imagine you want to give feedback to a loved one, but you know the repercussions of that feedback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, they won't ever say thank you for the feedback, you know, maybe sarcastically. But that's what happened, because then it will open up more lines of communication.
Yeah. Wow.
True. Because what you are doing is to create a platform that is neutral for everyone to
Yeah.
come together,
That's true.
right? And it's not just one-on-one, because sometimes
Right.
one-on-one feedback might be a little bit personal and you're not sure where it's coming
And
from.
direct, too direct.
Too
sometimes,
direct too, yeah. But not as everyone.
Yeah.
So
Very
you're in
neutral.
like a setup, all of you are present
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
do feedback.
Usually in a
one-on-one.
holiday, so it's fun, right? So the mind is on
Oh,
that
play
fun,
mode.
and then we have that because we know we're gonna do it, and everyone comes prepared. So now people
Wow.
are coming, all of them are coming prepared, and like, oh my god.
So Mel, any last words, last piece of advice before we enter into this stage of parenting
Okay.
for us?
Sure. It's got to come with your own style. You know, you can say, okay, and now I've heard from this person, I've heard from this, and this is how my parents brought me up.
Oh yeah.
And then you can choose, right? Because when you work with that choice of your partner, right, coming into your life, then you gotta realize, okay, now he's come from a different background. So what's gonna work now? And then have that discussion. Have that discussion early on before you have kids, so that is ironed out,
Yep.
and not after that. So that will be very important, which means setting what are the values
Yeah.
of your unit,
Yeah.
Right.
setting what are the boundaries of your unit, and of course what would be the thing that holds you all together,
Wow.
that commonality, that
Value.
that glue
Yeah.
that would hold. For us, it's the love,
Yep. Yeah.
and that's how we bind everything together with love, and we do it with love. So.
Nice.
So again, it's all about consciousness. It's not about just saying,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out when I have a kid, right?
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people do that, right?
Yeah, and it is, parenting is a relationship with another person,
Yeah,
and
it
just like a relationship that we have with a partner
With a
or a
partner.
friend, it takes very conscious effort, and it
Yes.
does take work.
It
But
does.
that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
right? And it's okay.
And I think the best thing is we are all in work in progress.
Thank you for joining us at SMALLTALK today. We hope you gained some new insights in today's episode. Feel free to share this with your loved ones and your friends.
We're also always looking for new topics for Small Talk. Feel free to share your ideas at smalltalkasia@gmail.com. Join us on the next one.